Hi there, Steve King back with you once again. And today I'm going to talk about dependence and addiction and its relationship to fears, phobias, and anxieties. Now, dependence is when someone has made a choice to continue use despite having full knowledge of the potential consequences, whereas addiction can be considered to be the reversal of intent, continuing to use against one's own better judgment, or loss of control. Now, Jack Trimpey, in his book Rational Recovery, spoke to this issue, and it clearly fits into one of the major aspects of Dr. Roger Callahan's work, namely psychological reversal, which I actually discussed in chapter 11 of my book Rapid Recovery, Accelerated Information Processing and Healing. Most of you will probably know that in 1929 Walter Buchanan described the sympathetic and parasympathetic responses to stress that he termed the fight or flight responses. Clinician Billy J. Sally of Texas said these responses can have a tremendous physiological impact on us and are easily set in motion by any form of stress, anxiety, fear, panic, or phobia. The neuroendocrine system, which includes the adrenals and pituitary, will produce chemicals and hormones which in large amounts can be very harmful. If there is anger, rage, fear, or excitement, then oversecretions of adrenaline or noradrenaline can lead to heart attacks or emotional breakdown, whereas long-term physical or mental exertion can lead to oversecretions of cortisone, cortisol, or corticosterone, and this can lead to susceptibility to infections. Burnout can result from brain cells being depleted of their neurotransmitters. The immune system can be affected by many toxins or allergens, environmental stressors, such as chemicals, foods, pollens, and perfumes. These can also cause reversals, which are also covered in detail in chapter 11 of my book. The autonomic and central nervous systems govern the messages and automatic reactionary functions of the body. Therefore, our heart rate, blood pressure, circulation, respiration, posture, and digestion can all be negatively impacted and lead to obvious physical tensions such as headaches. Fritz Perls stated that fear is the excitement without the breath. It has been established that for some there is a direct link between having panic attacks and alcoholism, and that hyperventilation and fear of dying can be a direct trigger for the need to mood alter. Stress can also be said to come from three main sources: fear, pain, and fear of more pain, which in turn can produce anticipatory anxiety. Some data involving phobics with symptoms that range from simple anxiety to full-blown phobias would suggest that the subconscious has become saturated by past traumatic events, which are unresolved, and therefore lead to the oversaturation or total depletion of chemicals and hormones that are designed actually to regulate us. The key lies in the ability of an anxious person to realize the truth that it's over, let it go, let it rest in peace. I can't change it, the past is over, my control is in the present, not the past or the future. Many of the energy medicine therapeutic techniques that are used and that I have mentioned throughout here and in my books allow this reframing to be facilitated at the core subconscious level and does not require behavioral modification or constant affirmations, as these appear to be automatically and positively impacted. Now, it is known that a certain level of stress is necessary to maintain optimal health. Hans Selye, the pioneer of research on stress and its origins and effects, excuse me, referred to this optimal level as eustress or positive excitement. If this optimal level is exceeded and any form of system dysfunction follows, then that is referred to as distress. There is an obvious fear or phobic response as a result of something that has occurred in a traumatic fashion or has a distinct possibility of happening, but the body cannot tell the difference between what is real and what is imagined. This fits the acronym of fear, false evidence appearing real. However, often a phobia begins following a trauma that has not been resolved, and the inner disturbance of energy can often manifest in some totally unrelated phobia. Fear can also provide secondary gains, inasmuch as allowing us to avoid fulfilling our true individual potential. Abraham Maslow noted that the fear of our own higher potentialities is quite common. Marilyn Ferguson stated that we enjoy and even thrill to the godlike possibilities we see in ourselves in peak moments, and yet we simultaneously shiver with weakness and fear before these same possibilities. Fear of knowing is very deeply a fear of doing. Having knowledge carries with it responsibility, and once something has been made conscious to us, we have a choice. And if we do nothing to change things, then that in itself needs to be recognized as a choice. At least the gift of healing brings one back to a place where true choice is again, or even for the first time, available. If one decides to do nothing differently, it is at least a decision made from a state of healthy reasoning ability and not from one of psychological imprisonment, torment, or ignorance. Most people who have been in an auto accident in which for a split second beforehand they knew what was about to happen but not the outcome can relate to the following common fear-based reactions. The body goes taut, one stops breathing momentarily, and we instantly freeze the image like a still picture up here of the moment that we felt that death or pain could be imminent. The treatment goal, therefore, is to unfreeze the image, the picture, in order to allow the movie to run on, so that all levels of one consciousness and awareness truly know that one has survived, continued to grow up, and did not die. This allows for both a sense of inner peace and the dispelling of any self-sabotaging that may have otherwise surfaced. Clearing template memories or PTSD work, such as in my online Udemy course, PTSD Cleaning and Clearing Shock and Trauma, is designed to reframe any harmful beliefs that appear stuck or frozen. To unfreeze such beliefs or cellular memory can change or shift the way we view or act in the present moment or in the future. Frozen development is the frozen vibration of the original trauma. This means that if it is not attended to and worked through, then similar vibrations in the present will create the same fear-based response. In the extreme state of shock or terror, there is total immobility of the muscles, the spinal cord and the lungs, a defocusing of the eyes, and a partial congealing of the fluids and the arterial blood supply. Energy healers may refer to things like frozen psychic time conglomerates as being when, from conception onwards, we had to stop the flow of energy around a particularly painful event. We froze that event in both energy and in time, which creates a frozen energy consciousness. Any part of our psyche associated with that event also froze as we separated or dissociated or otherwise stopped the pain. It is that part of the psyche that needs thawing out, as it does not mature along with our physiology. It will not mature until conscious thought and energy get to the block and allow the processing to take place and allow for true maturation. The need is to turn any still frozen fear or anxiety images into moving pictures, and thereby merge the levels of consciousness and allow for the natural flow of the body's energies again. It was Carl Pribram who determined that the brain, through its holographic nature, had the amazing ability to store a staggering amount of information, and that the frozen imagery of trauma can be accounted for by the blocking of the necessary interference and resolved when the interference patterns are unblocked and returned to a flow state. A person may continue to draw fear-based situations into their life in the form of reenactment, and it follows that these reenactments will stop once there has been a resolution to the original trauma. Jung believed that neurosis is the avoidance of legitimate suffering. Scott Peck stated that most people who see a psychiatrist are suffering what is called either a neurosis or a character disorder, and that the neurotic assumes too much responsibility, which leads to self-blaming whenever they are in any conflicts with the world. Accelerated information processing techniques such as thought field therapy, EFT, EMDR, etc. may use dreams, memories, or current behavior as foci in order to stimulate the specific neural networks that contain the disturbing information. Shapiro said that, the founder of EMDR. It is the perception of a particular trauma that appears to continue the damage rather than what may have actually happened, and while one party may have been dramatically affected, another may continue to be emotionally unscathed. Dr. Richard Gerber stated that the subconscious is primitive and has the logical thinking of a 6-year-old. Now, interestingly, this is also the age at which we are said to be egocentric, and believe that anything that happens around us is as a result of who we are or what we have done. An example would be if parents separate, a young child will often believe that in some way they were responsible for what happened and will often carry the guilt even to their grave. Now, if you wish to know more about addiction, boundaries and enabling, you might want to check out my lecture at Okanagan College. It was shown on Shore TV Okanagan and is available on YouTube under the heading Addiction Boundaries. Thanks very much.